Hey everybody, tonight we're diving into the wild world of Indonesian cigarette sales where things are about to get hazy, and I'm not talking about the clove-flavoured smoke, we're talking about virtual entities. Mysterious middlemen making big bucks in the cigarette game. Now, Indonesia loves its cigarettes. It's the world's second largest tobacco market, and where there's smoke, there's usually some shady business going on. But these virtual entities, they're like ghosts in the machine operating in the shadows of the already complicated supply chain. They don't have official records, they deal mostly in cash, and they're making it really hard for the government to track cigarette sales and collect taxes. Think of them like the internet commenters of the cigarette world, anonymous, untraceable, and probably up to no good. So, buckle up as we unpack this shadowy system, explore its impact, and think about some solutions to clear the air. So, who are these virtual entities anyway? They aren't spooky digital beings like something out of the Matrix. Instead, they're more like informal networks of individuals or small businesses. Imagine a guy in a warung, a small kiosk, selling single cigarettes. He might get his supply from another guy who got it from another guy, and so on. These virtual entities act as middlemen between licensed distributors and retailers. They buy cigarettes in bulk, break them down into smaller packs, and sell them to smaller vendors. The problem is they often do this without proper registration, licensing, or record keeping. They fly under the radar, making it difficult to track their activities or hold them accountable. It's like a game of telephone, but instead of a message getting distorted, it's packs of cigarettes disappearing into thin air as far as the taxman is concerned. And as you might imagine, this lack of transparency creates a whole host of problems. Here's the thing. Indonesia relies heavily on cigarette taxes. It's a major source of government revenue, but these virtual entities are throwing a wrench into the system with their cash-heavy, off-the-books operations because they often don't keep proper records. It's incredibly easy for them to underreport their sales and avoid paying their fair share of taxes. They're basically playing a real-life game of hide-and-seek with the government's money, and the consequences are real. This loss of tax revenue means less money for essential services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure. It's like the government is trying to build a house with only half the bricks. It's not going to be pretty. But wait, there's more. This lack of transparency and accountability doesn't just impact tax revenue, it also creates a breeding ground for other illicit activities like money laundering. Remember all those cash transactions we talked about? Well, they leave a very faint paper trail, making it easy to move dirty money around undetected. It's like a financial black hole where money goes in, gets mixed around with legitimate funds, and comes out clean on the other side. And this isn't just a hypothetical problem. There have been documented cases of virtual entities being used to funnel money for organized crime and even terrorism financing. So not only are these shadowy middlemen costing the government money, but they might also be indirectly funding some pretty bad dudes. Section 5. Accountability, not so much. The perils of faceless businesses. Now you might be thinking, can't the government just shut these guys down? Well, it's not that simple. Remember, these virtual entities thrive on anonymity. They're like smoke, hard to grasp and even harder to regulate. Without proper registration or business addresses, it's incredibly difficult to track them down, let alone hold them accountable for their actions. It's like trying to catch a whisper in a hurricane. This lack of accountability has serious consequences. For starters, it undermines the rule of law. If businesses can operate outside the system without fear of repercussions, it erodes trust in the entire regulatory framework. It's like playing a game where some players can break the rules without any consequences. Where's the fun in that? Section 6. Left in the haze where consumer protection goes up in smoke. And it's not just the government that suffers in this scenario. Consumers are also left vulnerable. Without proper regulation and oversight, there's no guarantee that the cigarettes being sold are genuine or safe. Counterfeit cigarettes are a real problem, often containing dangerous additives and contaminants. And because these virtual entities operate in the shadows, it's almost impossible to trace the source of contaminated products or hold anyone responsible for any harm caused. It's like playing Russian roulette with your health every time you light up. So, what can be done about this hazy situation? Well, it's time to clear the air and talk solutions. Section 7, bringing them into the light, formalizing Indonesia's retail network. The first step in tackling this problem is to shed some light on this shadowy system. That means encouraging the formalization of Indonesia's retail network, particularly in the cigarette sector. The government can offer incentives for small vendors and middlemen to register their businesses and operate within the legal framework. This could include tax breaks, streamlined registration processes, and access to microfinance opportunities. It's like offering a carrot instead of a stick to encourage better behavior. By bringing these virtual entities into the fold, the government can begin to track their activities, collect much-needed tax revenue, and ensure greater transparency in the market. Section 8. Cashless is king, promoting digital transactions for transparency. Another crucial step is to reduce reliance on cash transactions. Remember, cash is the lifeblood of the shadow economy. It's untraceable, anonymous, and leaves no digital footprint. But digital transactions, on the other hand, offer greater transparency and accountability. The government can promote the use of digital payment platforms by making them more accessible and user-friendly, particularly for small businesses. This could involve offering financial literacy programs, providing subsidies for point-of-sale systems, and partnering with mobile money providers to expand their reach. Think of it as squeezing the shadowy middlemen out by making the entire system more transparent. It's like trying to catch a shadow with a flashlight. It's just not going to work. Section 9, no more smoke and mirrors, strengthening enforcement and closing loopholes. Finally, none of these measures will be effective without strong enforcement and the commitment to closing legal loopholes. The government needs to crack down on illegal cigarette sales, seize counterfeit products, and impose stricter penalties on those operating outside the law. This requires adequate funding for enforcement agencies, better coordination between different government bodies, and a zero-tolerance policy for corruption. It's time to stop treating illicit cigarette sales as a slap on the wrist and start treating it like the serious crime it is. In the end, tackling the problem of virtual entities in Indonesia's cigarette market is not just about collecting taxes. It's about ensuring a level playing field for businesses, protecting public health, and upholding the rule of law. It's about clearing the air, both literally and figuratively, for a healthier, more transparent and accountable Indonesia. And on that note, I'll leave you with this. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Especially if it involves cigarettes and a guy named Shadowfax in a dimly lit warung.